Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Game Club. This month we are talking about Norco. I'm your host, Boston, playing on the PlayStation 5. I am joined, as always, by Moonpeer.
Howdy. Sorry, I'm playing on the Series X. I was reading through your show notes. We'll get there.
Yeah, my character descriptions here are 10 out of 10. No notes.
Uh-huh.
And Musum.
Hello, playing on Xbox One and Series X.
Yeah.
We usually put this notice here at the beginning, but it bears repeating just in case this is your first episode. This is a recap of this game. It also is a spoiler cast. So if you're saying, like, hey, I wonder where all the spoiler casts went, we have one every month. And this month is
Yes,
Norco.
we do.
So if you want to know who the Garretts are,
A special.
you've already played. If you don't know who the Garretts are, go play Norco. It's pretty short. And then come on back. Let's talk about details for this game. Released on OS X and Windows on March 24th, 2022. Released on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles on November 17th, 2022. Developed by Geography of Robots, is the studio's first game, and published by Raw Fury. Time travel. Talk about the reception when this game came out in the storied time of a couple months ago. Metacritic has it at 89, and OpenCritic has it at 90. Talk about peers for the release date. Other potentially cool or notable games that released at the same time. Ghostwire Tokyo. Also in the same vein, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Past Game Club game Tunic. Gran Turismo 7. The Switch release of Triangle Strategy, and two more Game Club games apparently we really liked this month, Far Changing Tides and Weird West.
Apparently we did. Wait, Weird West?
Weird
Yeah,
West.
okay. I was thinking of the other West game.
Spoiler for the later of the cast. I really wish we played this one instead of those two.
There you go. Let's ask the question that we ask every month. Was this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked?
Okay. I will take this. I will take the bullet on this one.
Okay.
In general, it was probably overlooked.
Mhm.
However, within the circles we run in, it was probably middle of the road, because we all listen to those weirdos who love these kind of games. I'm also pointing
Guy with the
fingers
thumbs right
directly
here.
at Boston, and maybe like a half a thumb pointed towards Musum. But
Mhm.
more specifically, we also have a community that immediately reached out to you, Boston, and was like, "Yo, Boston, psst, you need to play this game."
Hey kid, you like point-and-click adventure games? Want to see a dead body? I'm actually going to go with top of the pile, because after I finished this game, I went to go look at the kind of general critical reception for this, and the number of people that I saw with this game either in the top half of their top 10 of 2022 or firmly at number one with a bullet was genuinely pretty surprising. And surprisingly interesting and well thought out coverage and reviews in large newspapers, kind of traditional newspapers like New York Times and stuff like that. So it was. Moon, you're muted.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
That was also when the New York Times had started, and the Washington Post did the same thing. They were like, "Let's start a video game division." Spoilers: they're all laid off right now.
Hey, you all hear about these new things, video games? Yeah.
I had never heard of this till you guys suggested it last episode, so it went way over my head. And then, like, a loose Google showed, oh, wow, this is really critically received well. And I've just completely abandoned, evidently, listening to the video game community.
Well, and it's
Hey. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no ill intent with that statement at all. So.
Right. Well, and it's point-and-click adventure games have not had the best decade. 20 years, maybe?
There's been like 5 good ones. I mean, what was that Nightmare one that I played that was from the originators of it? That was just terrible.
Thimbleweed.
To Thimbleweed Park.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so there have been a couple notable ones, Norco included, but it's been a rough couple of decades.
But let's face it, we got two bangers at the same time. Like we seem to get them in pairs because Citizen Sleeper came out around the same time, and everyone was like, "Play Citizen Sleeper, play Norco."
I also want to leverage here. I'm a huge fan of Citizen Sleeper. I will parrot what the developer says. Not a visual novel. It's a tabletop RPG. So I'm just putting it out there. That's what he's saying. I'm putting it out there.
I'd agree with that. Like you could try and be real broad and just say all these visual novels count as point and click adventures, but this is like a true point and click adventure, though. Like.
Norco is a very classic point and click adventure.
Yes, I don't think I've enjoyed a point and click adventure since for literally 20 years, like you said. Like it was like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, when did the Dig come out?
Well, I view this more as a visual novel, if I'm honest, because there's not a whole lot of pointing and clicking in it. I know it's technically not a visual novel because it's not just about reading and making decisions. I get that. Did not know the Nunnery games were on the Xbox, by the way. Oh no.
They're very good. You should play those.
But I think that's why I'm better with this game than most, because I hate point and click adventures. I just don't like it. So when it came around to playing this, it was like, okay, so it's minimal point and click adventure kind of stuff. There's a lot of area exploration and talking to different people and an occasional interactive thing. But with the exception of near the end of the game, there isn't that whole thing of, what is it? Take the ice lolly thing and drip glue on it and turn it into a mustache to stick onto
the cat hair mustache
kind of crap.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that in this game, but it reminded me, it's nothing like it, but at the same time, it still reminded me of the old classic, cyberpunk classic Rise of the Dragon, which I have not played in 20 years, but I absolutely love that game, and I own it on Sega CD and probably GOG. I might be a liar on GOG. I know I got it on Sega CD. But it's the same type where you don't have an avatar on screen, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah, it reminds me, it kind of, for me, evokes the same sort of thing that Life is Strange did, where Life is Strange really is kind of a modern take on that genre, and Norco really is a modern take on the classic point-and-click adventure game, but they remove all of the chaff. They remove the pixel hunting. They remove you have something here on these 3 screens, and you haven't combined the 4 things in the right order to do the blobbity blurbiter. And it's like, cool, I'm not playing this game anymore. It really strips that stuff down, and it really focuses on the world and the writing and the aesthetic and the vibe, and it kind of gets to the meat of what the strengths of this game are, as opposed to, oh, did you look at everything in the convenience store? Did you click on all of it 4 times? It just doesn't do that, and I think to its success.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I get the general vibe from the room here that this is going to be mostly a positive discussion around this game. It's okay, because I have some negatives that I'd like to address right off the bat.
Yeah, let's hit them up.
So, controls are a nightmare. Let's talk about that straight up.
On console, they're rough.
This is real hard because between quick select and then it turning into a cursor and not being able to confirm anything sometimes unless you move the cursor over the thing you've quick selected, it's not great, we'll say.
Thank God for auto battle. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have finished this game.
Yeah, so that's something I was going to mention is I turned on auto battle after recruiting Monkey and then left auto battle on.
Yep.
Because it is I literally can't do what it's asking me to do on a controller. I just can't.
And it's not fun when you can. I think that to me that whole battle system is a miss, and I it's frustrating because I think I don't want to armchair developer here too much, but to me it seems like it's an easy solution to say, hey, you can't complete this battle against these robots until you get lucky. So why don't they just tell that via text? Like, why don't you say, like, hey, we tried to fight these guys, we got rebuffed, let's go figure something else out. Like, why do we need to do this whole thing that's really at odds with the rest of this game?
Okay. I didn't know that. I got lucky before I went there.
Yeah, you go and they take you down in like one shot a piece. And then you're like, well, maybe we should try something different. And it's like, then why are... Okay, fine.
I don't remember doing that fight, honestly.
Yeah.
Did you do the drone mini game on the computer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say that might affect it too, because I think you do have more fights in that case as well. But yeah, the combat is just horrendous on a controller.
Yep.
The art is fine. There are some sections where the art is absolutely spectacular.
Yep.
Some incredible pieces of art in here, but generally it's very much a case of because there's the humans are all pixel art, and I'm not a huge fan of pixel art to begin with. At the best of times, it's 2023. We don't need pixel art in every single game anymore, please.
It's not a style that clicks with you really in general, so that's not too surprising. Yeah. I like this style a lot because I think it reminds me of what I thought games in the early 90s looked like when we were playing them. Like firing up the Dig that I mentioned earlier was just like, games will never look better than this. And, Norco largely looks really good. And when it doesn't look great, I think it's stylistically interesting. But it's definitely probably one of the most divisive kind of pixel art styles, I think.
I also think the first act is kind of weak. I did not think I was going to like the game, and then it got to Act 2, and my opinion drastically changed. To me, this is a game that is way above the sum of its parts, because I agree the controls aren't great. I didn't really have the difficulty with combat you guys did, but the memorization puzzles were I guess you didn't have to do them, but I did not enjoy those, and I played it until the cat launched into space.
Right.
But I personally do like the art style, but I think that's also just, it hits a nostalgia point for me, and I like that it is not only pixel art, but they are going for something different in their color tones and their character presentations, and I absolutely love that they made an art style that's slightly off-putting, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, and it makes sense in the style and the lore of the universe too.
Yeah, and especially when they show some landscapes and they do some large scale work.
That's the stuff I love.
Yeah, I think that stuff is outstanding looking. I think that's some of the strongest stuff in this game.
The fire on the stacks when it flames
so cool.
up in that artwork is just incredible.
Yep.
I will say though, Musum, it tickles me that you had a weak start and a strong end. The further I got in this game, the weaker it became for me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As soon as they start going all Dan Brown on you, it was just like, come on, please.
Yeah. To me, I think the first act I think is really good because it feels both Kay and Catherine's stories kind of passing each other by and overlapping a little bit. I think works really well to build the oppressiveness of Norco itself as a city and kind of as like a living thing. I always love stories where the city is a character in and of itself, and the kind of oppressive nature of the the corporation that's running this ever expanding large scale installation. And I think Act 1 is really great for me. I think Act 2 gets worse the farther it goes on, and I think for me Act 3 is where the game kind of falls on its face. And how do I say this? I think the more grounded the game is, with little outcroppings of technology, I think that's when the game is really interesting to me. Like, everybody's got a phone, everybody's got this thing. I scanned my brain before I died in this hard drive, and it's in the basement. It's just like, wait, what? Sorry, what? Like, I think that's where Norco succeeds for me. But the deeper you get into the garrets, and the Act 3, I think, is a mess overall from beginning to end. Because I think I appreciate that they lean into the Southern Gothic stuff really heavily, and the deeper you get in the game, the more dreamlike it becomes, and the more detached from reality it becomes. But that's the stuff I don't like in this game.
So for me, like, the first act was it was too normal. Like, it was a lot of exposition. It didn't unpack much. And then Act 2, when you really started going back and forth between, I guess it's really the end of Act 1, when you start going between Catherine and Kay, that is when it started to hit off. So, like, the thing I love about the Garretts is you have this weird nerd cult of these...
His Best Buy cult.
Like, I love how everything in the game is kind of coincidence that everyone else thinks isn't coincidence. Like, that's a lot.
Yes.
That is a lot of the points it hits. And I love that bit of storytelling. I love that Lucky, like, he's like, no, I just get bored and blow stuff up. I'm not trying to start a revolution. But you see them on the news and they're like, man, starting revolution. And I love that the Garretts, like, these kids are just a bunch of streamer followers who are like, oh, yeah, sounds cool. Let's go to Mars or something. And
that's right. Play video games in an abandoned mall, whatever.
Yeah. And I love
TwitchCon is in Norco this year.
That's right. That's right.
I love how over the top it gets. I love how Ditchman is like he is creepy from square one. Like, he is.
The one moment that genuinely scared me was when you're looking at your phone and you're scanning those things, and he creeps in, and I didn't notice him until he shows up in the phone's frame. Genuinely scared me.
Yeah. Like, I do wish they had a little bit more of an ending than they did, but I don't mind it because I feel like all the information is in the game, and I need to go play it again and kind of look at the details. Like, I love how the two main characters, like, you're thinking, oh, they just put, Kay just doesn't have a face because they want the player to put their face there. And the further you get in, like, everyone is commenting on it, and you're like,
right,
what the heck does this even mean? And it's never explained. Like, I love that, Super Duck is this runaway, like, copy of some guy's brain,
yeah, like this runaway copy of Duck's consciousness that somehow escaped and got corrupted. And it's just like, all right, it's also super turbo gross, but that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, like,
that's the parts I love. Like, the things that genuinely ticked me off in this was the whole Blood of Christ story aspect of it, which, whether it's true or the ramblings of a strange man, it's just like, that's what I meant when I made the Dan Brown joke earlier. It was just like, I don't need another one of these, like, not right now.
Right.
I mean, it's for me, like, Ditchman was just, he was probably an alien, right? Because you had this old guy who could move super fast and seem super strong,
right?
Something like that, or an experiment or something. Like, there was probably something further in there. So for me, it was less like it. People tend to assign religions to fantastical things because they don't have another explanation for it. Which, man, I don't. Well, maybe I should rephrase that. whether you are religious or not, I believe you can believe that without being insulted. I did not mean it to insult you if you're religious
sure.
and in the audience.
Sure.
But like for me, it was them seeing something fantastical and assigning it to it. So like maybe like, I mean, Kay and her brother had no face. Like there was something else going on there, whether that was, you know, a mutation from the oil company in town that wanted to go drill on Mars, or whether that was like maybe there's
potentially it was an aspect for in Kay's case of like the wars that she fought in, which that is the part that this game I think does so well, like the writing, the world building. It is an incredible world.
I just want to like simmer in that.
Yeah, for the people who don't know me, I like a good dark world, like a really dark world, because it's like, yeah, like reality is crap, and maybe fiction should follow suit.
But with one of the best character creators in a long time too, of just like, you know, and then I did this, and you get 3 choices, and then when I hit the train, I did this, and you get, you know, 4 or 5 choices, but they genuinely do carry through the rest of the game in pretty material ways that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and you mentioned Life is Strange earlier. One of probably my favorite thing this game does, I feel it's very Life is Strange, even though Life is Strange doesn't use this mechanic at all, is it gives you glimpses of the future. The best example I have of this is when they talk about the house, Kay's house that she grew up in. It's like the house flooded 3 times, and it gives you 3 dialogue options, and you read through each time Kay's memory of the house flooding.
Yep.
And then when you've read all 3, it says the 4th time, and it's like, I
like that moment.
And then you read it, and it's about what's going to happen to the house, what's going to happen to the area. And it only does it like 5 or 6 times in the entirety of the game. But anytime I saw one of those, I was like, yes, give me this, give me the visions of the future kind of thing.
It doesn't go out of its way, but I think it very clearly says Norco as a place is doomed. Through the actions of where it is, or through the actions of the corporation that is taking advantage of this town. It's probably a mix of both, but Norco is not a place that people should live, but these people have to. And I appreciate that a lot as sort of a thin sort of covering between our world and the game's world in a way that is depressing and realistic.
I mean, it's really a film noir story, right? Like it's that cyberpunk film noir. Like you get an ending either way, and none of them are particularly satisfactory, and the place is still doomed. You know, like
there are 3 endings, and they're all kind of not great.
Yeah.
Good. What endings did you guys get?
I escaped with. Okay, so let me be honest here, because as soon as you get the voice recording app on your phone and you go back to that guy in the garage that's like, hey, I want to leave a message for Bruce, at that point I was following a walkthrough. I'm super glad I was, because that whole like going through the office building to shake hands with the 3 people was a nightmare, even using a guide. So I got through my choices, I got what is essentially seen as the best ending, where you escape with your brother and your mom's body at the end, and
over the balcony,
over the balcony, and Ditch Guy like goes down with the rocket.
Yeah, and that's what I got.
Okay.
I was using I was going back and forth on the walkthrough. It was like the puzzles, like the building I used.
I was
it for.
50-50.
Yeah.
There was occasionally, I can't remember, I should have written it down. There was one moment that felt like the King's Quest 5 throw the shoe at the rat outside.
Was it the bird with the eyes? Because I would have never known to do that, to drag the eyes onto the giant bird in the middle of the swamp without a guide.
So
that would have never happened.
The moment I saw the swamp map and driving around, I was like, okay, I'm using the walkthrough entirely through this.
Yeah.
Like, this is...
That part was a lot longer than I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, like, this game has so many faults. So
yeah,
for me, like, it is way, way more than the sum of its parts. It is...
Yeah.
Those parts have been multiplied and have exponents on them for me.
And I think I'm in the same boat too. I think largely because of the strength of its writing. The studio is like, hey, we wanted
so good.
and the studio said, like, we wanted to make a Southern Gothic tale, and that's unfortunately not a writing style that I have much experience with, which is maybe why I enjoyed this game so much. But just the strength of writing and the kind of occasional weirdness and the kind of like I loved every time you dove into the water with LeBlanc to dive for stuff, and things just got really weird in like this haunted marsh, and then you come back and everything is fine. Like I like that kind of dreamy otherworldly quality to it, and I think when the game struggles with that in the third act, I think that's when I struggled with it too.
I did not get the struggling from the third act you guys did. I love the, like, it. I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. Like, getting to the rocket ship, that was so obvious, like this thing that was going to fall apart and not work in the first place.
Yeah.
Like I love that quality to it. I love that, like, oh, this is just the office party that went out here, and they're all in their masks, and then you have,
that lady
like,
got killed, and everybody went to see this rocket explode.
And then like the Garretts, like Kenner John getting killed, like made them serious in a way they weren't before, and at the same time split the faction in half. So you have these two angry factions, and then you have the kid who you already knew was absolutely insane. Like, here, take his head and do something more crazy with it, you know?
I really like that scene where Kenner John is talking to all of the Garretts, and none of them are listening to him because they all hate him. And he's just like, why like, his just exasperation through text was so great. Of just like, why are we what are you talking? What are we doing here? Why is this happening? Like, what are you doing? It was really great.
I got you guys uniforms. Where do you...
And then, like, Ditch Guy in the background going, like, you suck! It's like, who said that? What's happening here?
Yeah. That was... Yeah, no. All the mechanics in this game are terrible. I completely agree with that. It's...
Yeah.
I hope... I think I saw a rumor online that they're going to do, like, 2 more entries into this world, and I am here for it.
Yeah, I think if they make more things like this, I will have, at the very least, check it out to see, like, man, what are you guys gonna make next? Because I'm sure it's nothing I could ever predict in a very exciting way.
You know, I just looked at the character list. We haven't talked about is it Dallas?
Dallas, yeah, the guy who's with Catherine.
LeBlanc.
Yeah, LeBlanc.
We have the detective.
We have Keith, the guy who runs this live stream, Keith's Corner, who has like the most surprising intro in the third act.
That might be one of the best moments.
He
jumps in.
Keith's Corner, like that got a good laugh from me. Like, all right,
Keith is in the ring and he's got the starting animation from Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's really good. There's so much good stuff in this game.
He tells you about, like, his website intro earlier in the game, so it's just this wonderful bit of payoff. I was not expecting it to happen when it did. I was not expecting the animation.
No, yeah.
Man, I'm still...
LeBlanc is interesting, we'll say.
He might be one of my favorites. If only for when you go to those cabins when you're trying to get that boat, and LeBlanc is like, I used to stay here as a kid. Whatever happened to this old guy? And the guy who's fishing is like, he went crazy and like took a bunch of hostages and killed a bunch of people. And LeBlanc is like, yeah, but he he say anything about me? And he was like, the guy's like, bro, are you for real? And he's like, no, I'm not. But did he mention me? It's just like, I like the guy even was like, I don't think you understand what happened here.
So, out of curiosity, Boston, where did you get up to in the Flash TV show?
Oh, by season 4, maybe?
Did you meet Ralph Dibny?
That does not ring a bell.
Okay, because
Is that
Flash
LeBlanc?
has the elongated man, who is Ralph Dibny, who is a private investigator with stretchy powers. He's LeBlanc, essentially.
That's right.
He's the exact same character where he's just kind of clueless and stupid about everything.
Yeah.
And the entire time I was interacting with him, I was just thinking, this is Ralph Dibny. This is so stupid.
Your real introduction to LeBlanc is him being like, boy, I just sure am thirsty. I sure could use a little bit of food. I wonder where we could get that. And the bartender's like, all right, you know what he's doing. We all know what he's doing. You're just going to keep doing this. Okay, fair enough.
It's like, well, I wouldn't have chosen fries. I really don't like fries, but since you bought them, I'll eat.
Yeah, I would have preferred a sandwich.
Yeah, they have a sandwich here. It's just like, but not complaining. But, you know, sandwich would have been nice. But anyways, it's just like...
And this is the cheapest beer, you know? Like, if I was doing this for someone, you would have thought you would have ordered something nicer, but okay.
Yeah. LeBlanc's really great.
Don't get me wrong, Pawpaw / Ditchman is creepy in the creepy guy who's going to murder you kind of way.
Yep.
LeBlanc is creepy in the gross white guy on the internet kind of way, where he's talking. He talks a whole bunch of mess about how your mom secretly loved him.
Yeah, we're best friends.
And watches you from his house because he's on the toilet, which he also washes himself in. By the way, I'm just going to throw that one out there.
Rough in Norco.
That whole sequence of like, yeah, no, I saw him. I can't remember what event he saw your mom do it. He's like, they did this, this, and this. And they're like, well, why didn't you go?
Ditchman walking past the house.
Yeah, and the corporation also taking stuff out of her house after she passed too.
Yes,
he's like, I was gonna go shoot him, but you know, I was preoccupied.
Yeah, couldn't make it there in time.
Find out he was on the toilet, and like the whole time when I was first hearing, I'm like, this is nonsense. This makes no sense.
You're lying.
Then you go in his office, and you're like. That toilet is literally in front of his front window. He was not lying about
right next to his desk.
It's in front of 2 windows. Like it's it's next to one window, and there's another one behind him.
Talks about locking eyes with his neighbor.
Yeah. I think the only character that I really... It didn't feel like a missed opportunity, but I really wanted to see more of was Dallas, that private investigator you're with Catherine for so long. Like
the callback is not a good enough callback. He should join you.
Yeah, because like I liked seeing him show up with those like researchers, and I thought he seemed like a cool character, but so much of his character was just like, I'm not talking about it. I'm just here to work for Superduck. And it's just like I'm just putting in the hours for Superduck.
Did you meet his family?
I don't think I did.
Yes. Yeah.
You can go meet his family during one of the flashback scenes.
That was a lot.
His daughter and his grandkid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That might have helped a little bit, but.
And also, he gets a birthday present because it's his birthday. His
birthday
present is a Christmas-themed tie. So he puts the tie on and then wears it for the rest of the game.
That's great.
It's funny, a character that's introduced and he's like, yeah, I really just like listening to Christmas music. I'm like, I'm not going to like this guy.
Right.
But he's a really likable character. And I like his the background of him getting into it, where he was just on, it wasn't Reddit. It was, what's that website?
Craigslist. It was Craigslist.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, before apps, this was all on Craigslist. It's like, okay, I guess. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I will say the most telling thing about LeBlanc is, tell me you guys got his alternative attire. Please tell me you did.
No, because I read about it and I was like, no, I'm not going to have him look like a clown for the entire rest of the game.
I was not glued to the walkthrough at that point and did not realize it till it was too late. And I'm a little sad about it. I would have loved to have gotten the extra dialogue. Like, So is he?
So he has some fun conversations with the Garretts while he's dressed like that. Let's just say that.
Oh, I bet.
Is he a juggalo, or is it just?
It is very much ICP style clown makeup. It's very dark and gothic looking.
Right.
It's not your guy on the internet clown kind of thing. It's very much a juggalo kind of clown thing. And he's like, the funny thing is, because you have to touch it 3 times before he puts it on, and he keeps warning you. He's like, don't touch the face paints. Don't make me clown up. I will clown up if you keep doing it. And then he's like,
Clown up.
fine, I
That's
guess
great.
it's time to clown up. Like he's a Superman or something. And it's
Right.
just like, that's his
You
secret
forced my
powers.
hand.
Yeah. He 100% walks around like a juggalo for the rest of the game. Like
That's great. That's great.
It's hilarious and terrible at the same time.
Man.
Gosh, there's so much fun in this game. Like,
yeah,
there is. There genuinely is.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I think in one aspect you're right, Musim. This game is very much way above the sum of its parts. But at the same time, some of those parts really made me want to stop playing. Like I struggled to beat this in time for today because it was like, I don't want to deal with the combat anymore. Oh, I mean, the end of the game, and there is a combat sequence and a combat sequence and a combat sequence, and it's just like, oh my word.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Yeah.
When you get the glow guy, he just AoEs everyone, so you just kind of go back and forth between that and one of the other guys.
Hold on.
I don't know.
Hold on. You can't say glow guy. You get the floating celestial orb of angels, apparently.
This is true. It's true.
I don't. It's an alien glowy ball or something. Like, oh, okay. If they make a sequel to this game and they double down on the freaking religious stuff is true, like maybe that'll affect my opinion. But I really don't think they're going to do that.
No, probably not.
Yeah. No.
Musim, what are your kind of final thoughts here for Norco?
I adore this game. I acknowledge it's not for everyone. And I don't begrudge anyone taking issue with it, but like I feel like there's a lot of good commentary on just us humans in general, kind of drawing conclusions because we're these pattern recognition machines, and we tend to assign like intentional reason to actions, and sometimes you're just lucky and you're just bored, so you blow something up, and then someone decides you're trying to start a revolution. And I feel like that is the basis for almost everything that happens in the game is misattributed intention or lack of, therefore. But you know, there's a lot of fun here. I do think you should probably have a guide handy to play it with. I don't think you need to check yourself on every step of the way or anything like that. I just think, you know, when you reach the stupid Garrett's office building and the swamp, you will want it. But
yeah, exactly.
It is a point-and-click adventure. It has a lot of faults to it, and I absolutely adore it. And if I had had more time, I would have played it a second time.
Yeah. Moon, final thoughts for you?
It's a good quality game. It's decent enough to play. Like you can get through it. Like the thing that I loved in this, maybe it's because I've been playing and reading the usual open world crap. But the thing that I really loved about this was the story, the writing, the world building. I think it does all of that stuff fantastically well. All told, I genuinely did like it a lot. I probably have to go play Citizen Sleeper now to see how that compares, because very much it was a case of people came down hard on one line or the other. They might have liked them both, but people definitely were if you played Norco, you should play Citizen Sleeper. If you played Citizen Sleeper, you should play Norco. Like it felt very much like that was the thing.
Yeah.
They're such different games mechanically. Like, it seems unfair to compare them. Citizen Sleeper's mechanically on a level of its own, honestly. But anyway.
Yeah. I liked Norco a lot. I think I like the beginning of the game so much because I can kind of like luxuriate in the writing and the music and the vistas and kind of live in that world for a little bit, as terrible as it really is. But then from kind of a mechanic gameplay standpoint, I really do like that it kind of took the next step with point-and-click adventure games. And I'm sure it's a much different and probably largely improved experience on PC. They made it work on consoles, which I greatly appreciate. How well it works is probably about half of this episode. But I think I respect the hell out of it. I like a lot of it. While parts overstayed their welcome a little bit, I think the game overall didn't, which I think is kind of an achievement in and of itself with point-and-click adventure games. So I think Norco is really cool. It's one of the games I love to talk about on the show. It's definitely a singular game. It is a point-and-click adventure game, but you sure as hell haven't played another one like this. And I whether I like it or not, I absolutely respect the hell out of a team swinging for the fences, and I think largely succeeding. All right, that's Norco. Our next game is going to be Islanders. This came out on Windows, OS 10, Linux, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series consoles. We're going to play something pretty different, and after Norco, something pretty blue sky. And hopefully it doesn't do like a bait and switch with us, like a roguelike or something, where it's like, hey, everything's great, now you're in hell. So fingers crossed. But next month we'll play Islanders. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.
Boy.